Chapter 38 The Snowy Peak Mountain Station. As they sat on the bus, they passed through the wasteland of the outer regions of the city. In just moments, mountain forest appeared in everyone's sight. The mountain forest was very green, deep, and its vicinity was luxuriant, sturdy, and vigorous. Weeds were growing. The distant mountain peak was uneven and the clouds were thick. Do you see it? This lonely and mighty mountain is the Snowy Peak Mountain, and also the border of Arbo City. Arbo City counts as a medium-sized city. At the frontline magic cities, empires, and large demonic cities, their safe borders wouldn't be called just a station, or even a small stronghold, said the assistant military instructor, Pan Li Jun, whose hair was only the length of a forefinger. Speaking of which, since you guys regularly have contact with magical beasts, then that means you must be intermediate-level magicians? Wang Sanpeng said. Intermediate? Pan Li Jun swept her gaze across Wang Sanpeng as she ridiculed him. Why would intermediate-level magicians guide you little brats around? As Wang Sanpeng heard this, he got upset and whispered, "Then you guys are just primary-level magicians, that's nothing to brag about." As Wang Sanpeng said what everyone was thinking, the two military instructors began to laugh simultaneously. It was evident that they thought Wang Sanpeng's words were far too childish. As the bus entered the mountain, they had been on the road for more than half a day. Mo Fan wasn't leisurely sitting around for more than half a day. He was maintaining his meditation at the very back of the bus. He and the bus were fated. When he had completed connecting 7 stars and lightning strike, he was also on the bus. This time, Mo Fan felt like his fire element had touched upon something. The little loach pendant was like a stardust magic tool. It allowed Mo Fan's cultivation time to hugely upgrade. It has been a year since the annual examination, and Mo Fan realized that not only had his stardust become tremendously bright, but the stars within the fire element stardust had gone through a huge change. In the past, the star's radiance would be occasionally bright and occasionally dark. Currently, the star's radiance could be said to be extremely steady. It was said that when the star's brilliance began to transform, its ability to conduct magic would also improve. A spell's effect and might would also follow this change and strengthen. He spent the entire second year of high school increasing this. I wonder what kind of might the next level of fire burst will possess. I can't wait. At last, they finally arrived at the Snowy Peak Mountain Station. Although they said it was a small stronghold, this place wasn't just some crude village. The stronghold station used the incomparably precipitous cliff as its sides. The cliffs were at least 100 meters high. You could only see the sky if you were to fully tilt your head backwards. The cliffs on the two sides formed a natural wall. Additionally, the front and the back of the valley road had 2 colossal stone doors locked down. The entire stronghold station was just like a small fort garrison within the valley. So this is the Snowy Peak Mountain Stronghold. It is said that other than the high-leveled flying-type magical beasts, as well as those that have a climbing ability, this Snowy Peak Mountain Fort garrison can obstruct the absolute majority of the evil creatures that are doing bad deeds from the safety zone. Moreover, due to the Snowy Peak Mountain Station, we haven't had any frightening reports about people being hurt within the safety zone for many years. Zhang Jiangguo walked out of the bus as he looked at the large protective stone doors. He couldn't help but feel deeply moved. Teacher, I heard that this protective stone door is made by Arbo City's construction master, Earth Element Magician Zhang Yuheng. No magic beneath the intermediate level is capable of moving it? The young lady Ba Zhouman asked, while being the good student she was. That's right, the stone door seems a bit old, but the truth is that its firmness is no way inferior to steel. Zhang Jiangguo walked in the front, holding in his hands a flag for the third group. He looked like a tour guide who was taking the students on a walk around an ancient city. Not long after, the other 4 groups' buses arrived in succession. The 100 elite students of Tianlan Magic High stood together beneath the tall and sturdy stone door. On the 2 sides of the stone gate were 2 sentries. Amongst them was a battle mage who didn't wear his uniform. He was leisurely playing with the flame in his hands. The small flame was like an obedient pet, moving actively within his hands. Occasionally, it would float around his body. It seemed wonderfully graceful. As Mo Fan noticed this, he was amazed. From the way he was playing with the fire, Mo Fan could tell that the man was far more skilled than he was. He began wondering how much stronger the plain-clothed battle mage's fire burst skill would be compared to his own. Hey, Boss Zhang Kan, how come you're assigned to this post today? Luo Yunbo raised his head as he smiled toward the fire mage who was fiddling with flames. I have nothing to do. I heard there would be some high school girls coming here today, so I specifically came here to check it out myself. The man called Zhongkong didn't hide his characteristics as he smiled to himself. On the side, Joman pursed her small brows. It was because she could already feel this magician called Zhongkong was already gazing at her as he checked her out. So handsome. Yeah, you simply can't compare the little brats from our school with him. He has such a manly aura to him. And he's also very honest. The few infatuated girls in the class could no longer maintain their calm and immediately began to chatter continuously. Little girl, don't crease your brow toward our boss Zhongkong. He is one of the rare experts here. A voice that sounded as though she didn't like guiding the students came from the vice captain, Pan Li Jun, and in her voice was a slight note of adoration for Zhongkong. I've heard of the name Zhongkong. Isn't that the fire magician who slaughtered the most amount of magical beasts in the Snowy Peak Mountain Station? Zhang Jiangguo immediately raised his head as he loudly said, It's an honor to meet you. He has only killed off a few magical beasts. What's so impressive about that? Wang Sanpeng said. It is indeed not impressive. When Deng Kai proposed the idea of having you students come here for practicals, I did reject it, the handsome mustachioed Zhongkong said. The warning from a year ago has passed. Currently, there won't be any problem. As a mage, you still need this practical no matter what. You can't just extend it just because of a warning from a year ago, Zhang Jiangguo said. I don't really mind as long as you don't let the students wander around. I don't want to see this fine and delicate beautiful girl being eaten by a one-eyed magic wolf, Zhongkong said with a hearty laugh. Zhang Jiangguo smiled awkwardly. The other person was a genuine expert. Even if he were to assail a woman with obscenities, he, a teacher, was unable to do anything. The warning from a year ago? Mo Fan had heard of this matter from Little Ant. However, as Mo Fan had spent most of his time within the ivory tower of the school, the dangerous matters that occurred in the outside world were unknown to him. Chapter 39 Chief Military Instructor, Zhongkong. The entry and exit was clearly within the hands of the man called Zhongkong. As the 100 elite students exited the bus, they all began entering the Snowy Peak Mountain stronghold. The stronghold was very simple, with only a single main road. On the main road were many shops and vendors. It was virtually no different than the marketplace for a town. The only difference was that they didn't sell chicken, duck, or fish meat. They sold the necessities required for a mage's battles and cultivation. Come, top-rate magic boot equipment. Let me tell you, this is some good stuff. Do you know what the fastest magical beast is? That's right, it is made of the skin of a speed beast's hind legs, with the wind trail magic pattern. It also has a pure windstone increasing its energy. If you were to run using this, you'll definitely cause the one-eyed magic wolf to stare helplessly. If you were to buy this, I will give it to you with a discount, seeing how you and this treasure have interlinked fate. Second Baldy, stop bullshitting. How can this thing be called magic equipment? Any random Nike would be better than your pair. Bullshit. We lost 2 people killing a speed beast, and I was awarded the skin of the hind legs. It's definitely a genuine pair of magic boots equipment. The second Baldy immediately began a dispute with the person who made fun of him. Further up was a vendor, and they had magic stones of all colors. Magic stones were very simple. They were produced when the elements, fire, wind, lightning, or earth, were dense, producing an extraordinary stone. Inhabiting these stones was energy similar to the magic powers within a magician's stardust. Although they couldn't be directly used by magicians, they could still be used by embedding them into magic tools and magic equipment to supply them with constant energy. This knowledge has already been discussed by the teacher during class, and Mo Fan had earnestly listened to it at the time. They had said that on many occasions, the purified magic stones could also be used as a currency. The consumption rate of the magic stones was colossal. In fact, it was the equivalent of a power source in the scientific world. Mo Fan originally thought the mobile, computers, and household appliances used freaking electricity. After that lesson, he understood that the power plants here weren't some water conservancy that supplied electricity, nor some windmill network, but instead used lightning magic stones. There's nothing he could do about it. The light element originating from Edison was something Mo Fan had to accept. Apart from this, Watt, the one who invented the steam machines and helped the entire world enter an industrial revolution, that's right, he was a fire magician. The theory behind the steam machine was a fire magic diagram. They used the fire magic stone as the power source. That is why this world didn't have oil, hydroelectric power, or electrical energy. They relied on these magic stones to survive. And where did the magic stones come from? Naturally, they came from nature. The cruel thing is, the magical beasts also needed the magic stones. The magic stones were their most important food, and were a vital source of energy to becoming stronger. Thus, when the humans were searching for, digging up, and gathering magic stones, their biggest obstacle wasn't nature, but the magical beasts who also relied on magic stones to survive. Magical beasts were instinctively hostile toward humans. Think about it, all of the magical equipment within the city was simply food to magical beasts. Additionally, humans had always been their prey, which is why human magicians and the magical beasts had never ceased their battles against each other. Perhaps this was the biggest difference between the original world and the current magical world. In the original world, the humans held a governing position. If they wanted to sweep things away, all they needed to do was send a guided missile. However, in the world of magic, explosive weapons didn't exist. There were only magicians. Perhaps heavy explosive weapons would be unable to achieve their goal, and the magical beasts would occupy even more territory. The majority of humans could only live in cities. A city needed the protection of magicians. This was also the reason why a magician's status would always be higher than commoners. Not only do they possess mighty power, but they also had a divine mission. Brother Fan, on the practicals this time, we must properly show ourselves off. I've heard the practicals grades are directly related to our admission to university. It occupies 20% of the total admission grade. Zhang Xiaohou said to Mo Fan. Mo Fan nodded. Their homeroom teacher, Shui Mesheng, had already mentioned this matter. The practicals were basically a part of the high school exams. This is because the grades were set by the military, which is to say, the military head of this practical exercise. The evaluation of the head military instructor would be either C or A. This would directly decide whether the student magicians would end up in a top-rate magic university, or just a common magic university. The imperial institution which Mu Ningzhu was in at the moment would require the students to reach an A before they would bother to recruit them. Mo Fan had not resigned himself to staying in a small place like Bo City. Besides, the higher-tiered magic could only be learned in larger cities and universities. On the practicals this time, he also wanted to attain a grade of O or higher. Only this way would he have the right to enter universities of the same level as an imperial institution. These military instructors have been bribed by the school. Even if you were to waste your time here for 2 months, they'd at least give you B or C. That's why, there's no need to worry. Wang Sanpeng came over by chance as he said with a smile. That's right, it was like the previous sessions as well. Another student who knew of the internal stories also nodded his head. That's about right. The school definitely hopes for the military instructors to give them a higher grade. Gather in the plaza. Gathering. After Luo Yunbo loudly shouted, all the students began to quickly gather within the central plaza of the Snowy Peak Mountain stronghold. The number of people could be said to be of no small amount. There were 100 of them in all. They all wore the uniform of Tianlan Magic High. After all of the students had properly lined up, they quickly attracted the attention of the magicians stationed around the stronghold. They slowly gathered to surround the students. Each one of them seemed to be engrossed, their faces showing an exceptional sneer. Come and check this out, it's a new group of interns, ha ha ha. We can once again see the newbies make a fool out of themselves, a man with a sharp face like a rat said. Exactly. The period of time where the interns are here are the most lively period of time in this stronghold. Guess which one of these interns will be scared to the point where they pee their pants? A man who looked like the officer of a small hunter squad said as he stuck his head out. I guess there'll be at least 30. Then the rest of the 70 will be scared until they faint? The students formed a formation on the plaza, but they could easily hear the voices of the veterans of the stronghold. Most of them had a look that made them seem as if they took pleasure in seeing other people's misfortune. They definitely did not try to cover up their disdain toward the students. The 100 elite students were divided into 5 groups, and there were 20 people in each of the 5 groups. In the front stood 2 military instructors and 1 practical class teacher. Head military instructor. The head military instructor has come. Not long after, a group of battle mages wearing uniforms neatly walked to the front of the gathered students, and one could feel a certain prestige emitted from their aura. Leading these people was unexpectedly the mustache uncle who was playing with the flames by the sentry, Zhang. Zhang still had that superior appearance. As the head military instructor, his unorganized appearance actually caused people to think otherwise.